Welcome back to another episode of Craft on Tap, where we talk about growth marketing for RIAs. I'm your host, Stephen Beach, one of the co-founders and CEO of Craft Impact, and with me is my co-host, Faustin Weber, one of our marketing strategists. Today we're going to talk about a question that came in via our website that I thought would be applicable to our listeners, in that we had a submission where he said, we'll call him, anonymize his name, we'll call him Lance Bass for the sake of this discussion. Lance says, we have a wealth management firm that services individuals and families. We have built the firm by being present in communities and meeting people one-on-one. Probably sounds familiar if you're listening to this podcast. We need a marketing plan to scale from 85 million AUM to 150 million in AUM in 5 years. So Lance, congrats on the SMART goal, first of all. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. We've got a goal, we've got a timeline. I think that's pretty realistic. He says we need a plan, a structure, and a larger online presence. So I thought, Faustin, we should talk today about, the plan, the structure, the online presence. Like, where do we even start with that? We don't know much about Lance's practice. We don't know much about him. We don't know much about their makeup of their, clients or their prospect list or anything. So just talk us through kind of like, where do we start? What questions do we need to ask ourselves, and what questions do we need to ask Lance once we get on a call together? I'll kick it to you to start, and then you can kind of, I'll jump in.
Yeah, I guess we want to assume pretty much, since everyone in the RIA space wants to go for the 1 million and above net worth prospects, I guess let's just go ahead and say that. So between 1 million and 5 million.
Perfect.
And so, I think the best place to start, and I don't know how much this firm has already talked through their overall business strategy on who they want to go after, what's their typical client that they would like to help. But I would look first just at your own client base and start trying to break down, segment your own client base based on how do those individuals fit into which type of group of people or persona. Or I've seen avatar being used a lot to describe a persona, the old marketing term, right? Persona. So I would look and see, because I imagine you've built a community around with a lot of different professionals. You start off with your group of friends, your group of family members, and they refer you, and then you have a series of engineers and lawyers and different executives and pre-retirees, and so you just got this big hodgepodge that brings up your practice. And so I think just breaking down those individuals and starting to group them, like how many of these are pre-retirees, how many of these are business executives, how many of these are attorneys, how many of these are tech professionals that have different equity compensation needs. I think that's a good starting point. And then not so much just on profession, but also based on the different challenges that they have. So I think that's a key part of thinking through your overall marketing strategy of how you're going to get that 150 million, is just figuring out what kind of solution you provide that can be different than other advisory firms that are offering a similar type of solution, trying to serve a similar type of audience. So thinking not so much in terms of your profession of your current client base, but how their needs can be grouped or categorized into the specific challenges they have. Do you think that would be a good place to start, just starting with your own client base, Stephen? What are your thoughts on that?
That'd be to me the most efficient, smartest place to start. We've tested a lot of different things with different RIAs, with digital marketing campaigns, right? And we always come back to start with your clients, right? Market to your clients before you market to strangers. So for us, I think that's what we found. We spent a lot of time on thinking through how do we market best to our clients? How do we increase the client service level for your clients? And the word of mouth and the referrals will be coming regardless. But the more you focus on that, hopefully what we're trying to do is increase the word of mouth and the number of referrals, in a incremental way. So, I think great place to start.
Yeah, and I think too, once you get that breakdown of the different types of personas or avatars and then their unique challenges, you can start to see what gives you the most opportunity as a firm to hit that 5-year goal. Because if you have 30 or 40% that are business owners, for instance, you say, okay, well, maybe business owners is the way that I want to go. But I also know business owners are more of a long-term play, right? They don't have necessarily a lot of revenue that they're going to be able to give you in terms of investable assets right now, but they might in 5 to 10 to 15 years. Versus an executive, they're going to potentially have more assets that's shorter term revenue for your firm. So you start to have these kinds of conversations, and I think I would advocate for whoever that client is, or whoever that client group is that you do have a high percentage of, and then you start to look at, like, you need to do a little bit of market research, right? Start looking around, like, okay, that particular group of clients, are there enough of them if we want to really limit ourselves to them? Are they wealthy enough, continually wealthy enough, right, in terms of their typical career? And then in the space, are there other RIAs that are marketing specifically to them? And then how do we offer a solution that's a little bit different? Or how do we do it better? Or how do we have the expertise that's able to deliver a better experience? Or and I think about, one of our clients who focuses a lot on professionals in the 30s and 40s that might not have that high net worth right now, but they're more of like the Henrys, right? Like not quite rich yet, but they have equity compensation, and they built their entire firm and grown exponentially based on being able to serve this equity comp type challenge in a unique way and better than everyone else. And so they've been able to really like double down on that group. And so I would say for your firm at 75 million, like, you might not have one group that really rises to the top in your clients, but if you do, that might be the best place to start, because being able to create content, and we'll talk about content here in a second, but being able to fully articulate exactly how you solve all their challenges, it's going to resonate very well with your current client base that fits that niche, and then they're going to be able to better refer out to their colleagues and to their people in their close circle that might have the same sort of challenges, right?
Right. They're in a more kind of qualified space to be able to refer then to folks that have similar challenges, or, I mean, they would run in the same circles, right? It would stand to reason that they would be running around in the same circles. I think also too, if you look at the 85 million AUM, I don't know how many households that is. Say that's 100 households right now, maybe a little less. To try to pin it down, I mean, really what we're trying to do is say, and I keep going back to the word Avatar. I can't stop thinking about the Pixar movie Avatar once you said Avatar, so thanks for that. But I think you might struggle with it to pick out kind of a group of folks, and you might come up with maybe 3 different groups. So it could be, out of that 100 clients, 100 households, you might have a group you would call pre-retirees. You might have a group that are, let's just say dentists. You have 4 dentists in there. And then let's say you have another one that's, business owners. Those are pretty broad, right? So I think from there you could try to pin down more, ask yourself questions and ask your CFPs and your staff questions like, who do we really enjoy working with? Where do we think we have the most upside? Where do we think we can help the most? Where do we think we're the most unique in solving these challenges for them? And so that might help you. But I think the challenge would be try to pin it down to one, Disney, Pixar, Avatar, and try to pin it down to one specific set of challenges that those people have, and then pin it down to one unique solution that you kind of have packaged together that solves that challenge for them. And that's what we start with, and then we have the backup avatar and we have the plan B avatar and the plan C avatar. We can always run marketing campaigns towards those folks as well, and kind of use the data that comes back to make a more informed decision on, what's my niche going forward that's going to allow me to get to the 150. So hopefully that's making sense, right? You could technically build 3 different marketing campaigns. Each one has one specific persona who has one set of challenges who you solve for in a very specific way. You do that 3 times, and then you could create a unique campaign for each one of those. The goal there would be like testing your marketing messaging, testing the channels, testing the engagement, that you're getting out of these different campaigns, to then, eliminate two of those three and double down on the one that's performing best, and then, kind of run faster with that niche. So I guess that's how I would start to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I like the simplicity of the one problem, one solution, right? One persona. I would say that, we work with a lot of referral coaches in the space that work with some of our clients. And one of the things they really advocate for is having feedback sessions with your clients, or add a feedback component to your agenda when you have your quarterly or biannual meetings, and really ask, be point blank about how you're doing, and use any sort of positive response or positive results in how they're talking to help them think about other similar people that in their orbit, in their network, that you might be able to help them as well. And I think that's a great part about having a larger percentage of clients that are in that audience that you want to go after, that one persona, that one challenge, that one solution, is that you can just build that into your normal client service routine, to be able to ask them and to be able to set up those referrals. I think one thing we need to talk about, Stephen, is just how you position yourself, once you choose that, whatever that niche is, and how you update your website, how you update your social platforms. So can you maybe just talk a little bit about how do you see the website changing of your firm once you've made this decision that you're going to try to get over the next 5 years with this one avatar, with this one persona? How do you structure your website? What do you change? How do you deal with your social platforms?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I just talked with them looking to make a change with their positioning, which includes messaging and visual branding, to be more focused on women as breadwinners. So that's what they want to shift into. And as a business, they've made that decision. As a leadership team, they've already committed to that. They're full bore, ready to rock. So
Yeah.
We kind of have a green light there. Sometimes firms might not be all on the same page as far as that goes. There might be several partners or co-founders involved, that all have equal weight as far as decision. So I think you got to ask yourselves, your business partners, can we say we pick a niche? Let's just say it's dentist. Lance Bass wants to serve dentists. Hopefully everyone's following this ridiculous hypothetical. But Lance Bass is a dentist, a specialist in financial advising and wealth management for dentists. And so that's what he wants to try. But he also has 96 other clients that he doesn't want to alienate. Again, the avatar reference. So we don't want to alienate those folks. And if you get a good referral, from somebody who's not a dentist, who has over $1 million in liquid assets, who's seemingly a good fit to work with you, would you really say no to that person? No, you'd probably say yes. So depending on the connection to the firm and so on. So I think there's a balance there, right? There's a spectrum, I guess. On the far left side, it would be we're just going to add this avatar page as a core page to our website, but it kind of mixes in with 15 other pages and maybe 3 other avatars that we already have that are up and running, because we don't want to alienate anyone. We want to show, if the dentist comes to the website, there's a spot for him or her on the website. That's great, but we also don't want to say we're saying no to everybody else. Or on the far side of the spectrum, it is change the whole website to be all about wealth management for dentists, and that's fine too. You could argue you'd still be able to win the client. We've done it both ways, and there's a whole spectrum there. I think you can go anywhere, kind of splitting those two extremes. I think it needs to start though from kind of the leadership standpoint, the business planning side. Determining, what your strategic plan is as a firm. And then, and if you don't have that figured out yet, I think some of our messaging workshops would help ask the right questions maybe. But, we're not business consultants. I just think that sometimes you got to ask the question, get it in front of the group, and then, batter it around a little bit, and then you can come up with a pretty clear answer. So I guess
Yeah.
the answer is it depends. It's really driven by the leadership team. And then the marketing should be reflective of kind of the business goals and the real business plan that's put together.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, we've definitely seen it both ways, where like the firm changes their entire website to sell out towards, you keep using the example from the Kitsies, like the original Kitsies niche article around dentists, which is great.
Yeah.
But we've seen websites that completely sell out with their site, and that's really powerful. I mean, it can be really powerful where you can
Sell
just
out
have
in a good way.
right. Services for that particular niche. But we've also seen, to your point, we just have like a persona or avatar page where it talks through the challenges. You just need something on your website where if somebody does get that referral from your current clients, or when you start to publish all your wonderful content and drive a lot of interest and intrigue to your site, they need to be able to identify themselves in some way, be able to see themselves clicking in, because I think that's a key component of differentiating you from others that they might be either comparing in the space or that they might be considered.
For sure.
So yes, I think that's an important component. I would really lean into, like, for your social profiles, I don't think you need to worry so much about alienating your current clients on your LinkedIn or Instagram profiles, really talking about how you help that particular audience that you're going after, right? I think that can be done without having any issues from anybody in your current clientele. A client that I was just talking to who's completely sold out, he was kind of joking with me that he doesn't even think his current clients know that he's going after this other niche, because he's had a 10, 15-year relationship with them, and it's been great. And they don't even go to the website or even care. Like, they're just meeting with him.
Yeah.
So I don't think you need to worry necessarily about your profiles. I do think there's an important thing we need to talk about, though, Stephen, and that's like, okay, so you've decided the women breadwinners. I would say we might need to narrow down a little bit more than that if we're going to have a successful marketing campaign. But we need to see where our audience is living, right? Like, so we got our website updated. We need to see how our audience is consuming content. Like, are they on LinkedIn? Are they on social, which platforms are they on? Are they on Instagram? Do they peruse Reddit threads? Is our niche, does it already have like a subreddit community that's has a really vibrant presence where they're asking financial questions? As somebody, I was digging into a group for a client where I realized there was all sorts of these great Facebook groups, these vibrant 11 to 20,000 person communities that were just focused on finances for this group. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. Like, we got to break into there. So I do think there's a component of trying to figure out now, okay, so what's our plan to get to 150 million? We've decided on our niche. We are going to start marketing to our current clients, making sure we're asking for referrals. But then let's see where our audience is engaging outside of that. And then what you can do is think through, I would say, your challenges that they face, categorize them into the different categories of, okay, they really struggle with this thing as it comes to healthcare, but then they have this benefits package that has a really high amount of bonus that needs to be accounted for in terms of the tax planning. And they're always asking this question about work-life burnout and how their finances can, be taken off from them, and categorize your challenges. And that allows you to go in and start scraping questions from the internet. I'll say the internet, but Reddit, Quora, other social platforms. And then once you're able to have that information categorized and you're able to have those challenges, then you can start thinking about, okay, how do I solve all of those potential issues? And that really becomes your content marketing plan to try to engage those communities on whatever platform you've discovered or whatever community you've discovered that they live. So I would say that that's like a key component, is just figuring out sort of what their challenges are, what they're asking about, what they care about. And that's hard to do if you don't have a lot of clients in that space, because you can't just interview them. But I think you can do a lot of internet research, especially with the AI tools you can use now to scrape all this data. It can give you a good like content plan moving forward.
You say like ask Perplexity or Claude or ChatGPT, go tell me all the common questions that dentists are asking in online forums and social media communities around finances and wealth management and financial planning. And then bring back your results with citations from where you found it, something like that. And then you could go dig into each of those sites or each of those platforms and try to find more specifics, or like really try to like understand their language, how they're asking it.
Yeah, and I would just go one step further than that. I would have the challenges that you specifically feel like they have as a starting point for the AI search, and then you can give it that context before, because then it'll give you a lot better information across the different communities.
Nice. One other thing too I was thinking about as you were talking is, I think it's really important as a firm owner or managing partner, or co-founder. We're thinking about this, where do we position ourselves on the spectrum with this niche, and how seriously do we want to implement, around the niche as far as like our messaging and our brand and everything like that. And I do think there's a key point in here. If we shift our thinking, like not just from the firm side, you got to do your business planning from the firm side, but also think about it like from the buyer side, from the prospect side. If they got a referral, to you, Lance, and then they got a referral to the next advisor and the next advisor, and they pull up your websites, right, all next to each other, and one of them says wealth management for dentists. We've solved all these, common challenges, and here's how we tackle it, and here's what our, here's what it looks like. And the other ones are, wealth management for entrepreneurs, families, dentists, women, and business owners. Those are the two other websites. You're already kind of a leg up if you position yourself being so dedicated to the niche of dentist. Some people would say, "Oh, I want somebody who kind of has expertise, broadly across, different types of folks and whatnot." But I think most people would say, "My financial advisor is the first one, right? It's the one that really understands dentistry and understands the unique challenges inside of here." And the other guys say they do, but I'm not really sure, and they kind of do a lot of other stuff as well. So I think I just want to come back to that, just to think.
Yeah.
Let's think about it from their side. Like, how are they going to look at whatever you're presenting them? That could be your website, of course, would be the biggest one. Could be your LinkedIn tagline. Could be your the title, your job title, even like putting something about the niche in the title or underneath your company tagline, like something like that, where they would see it, in an email signature and on social media platforms and things, and kind of just give you a little bit of a leg up, to get that person thinking like, oh, they really get me, like they're speaking directly to me. That's valuable, and that's one of the ways that you can stand out, right? Because there is a lot of competition. And folks are evaluating other financial advisors, not just you. So, try to think about it from their perspective as well. Just wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, nice. I guess shifting gears a little bit towards like, okay, so you have your challenges, you have your potential content plan, but who's going to see your content? Who's going to see your postings? I would say you got to think of, all right, there's people out there on whatever platforms for where your niche is consuming information, whether it be Instagram or Reddit or media publications. There's platforms where people do have your audience in their following. And so you got to figure out, what is my in with some of these influencers, for lack of a better term? What is my in with, the moderators in the Reddit community? How do I figure out what how do I get in to the space where we can figure out some sort of collaboration opportunity? Perhaps it's a podcast that you're running or that you want to start, where then you want to spotlight these individuals that fit into the same niche as who you're going after, right? And you start to try to find like people in the space that have 10, 20, 30, 40,000 followers that you can interview, get exposure in that way, where they're going to share clips from the podcast and get really excited about being interviewed. Maybe it's a really insightful way that you answer Redditors' questions on a Reddit subreddit where people are engaging. It's figuring out these little ways of getting your content, your brand, your personal brand in front of these audiences. And you have to use the network. You have to find that leverage with the bigger influencers, or else it's going to just feel like a never ending grind, I guess I would say.
I call it like, it's almost like growth hacking into awareness. Sorry, I cut you off. Like you're trying to figure out how to, that's why I think it's like growth hacking your way to awareness. Because if you just change your website and change your social platforms and change your taglines everywhere, and you update it, and you only had a couple hundred visitors to your website in the first place, guess what? Nothing's going to change. It's basically, even if we do everything right from an SEO perspective, right? It's just not going to make a dent. It's like putting a beautiful billboard out in the desert somewhere. It's not going to. So you have to think outside the box. So like, how do you demonstrate your expertise and the fact that you know this audience, forwards and backwards, and you know how to solve their unique challenges? How do you demonstrate that, in front of a larger group, somebody that's already built that audience somewhere?
Yeah, and let's maybe not even speak in generalities or hypotheticals anymore. I'm just thinking of a particular client who's been going after dentists, right? And he's been trying to go after these 5-year time horizon to retirement dentists for the last year. Has built out an entire podcast focused on these dentists. Put his entire website focused on these people, dentists coming to a site and trying to get, potentially to become a client. Wants them to be $1 million, just like the first person who posed the
Lance
question.
Bass.
Lance Bass. Lance Bass. And has not had any success, right? Gets like very low engagement on all of his podcasts, gets pretty low engagement on his posts, has done a lot of things, like tried to connect with people on Instagram, tried to connect with people on LinkedIn. He's pulled lists. He's tried to do outreach to lists in other, of dentists in the local area and nationally. He goes to trade shows for dentists trying to get people to engage with him. So he's done all that he possibly can, right? From his perspective. But I think you have to even growth hack more than that, right? I think you have to think of like, okay, those influencers, all right, let me look up the top 30 influencers on Instagram that all fit in that dentist designation. I want to try to figure out some way of getting them in my podcast so that I can feature them, not just on my channels, but giving them something that they want to feature me on their channels, right? So you can go on that route. You can look through I would look through the Facebook groups where different members of the dentistry are engaging. Found a couple of really fantastic groups that are all focused on financial questions that dentists have. But you can't just get into that group because they're private, right? And they have moderators that potentially kick you out. So now I'm thinking, okay, how can I put myself in a good position with the moderator to try to feature her in a way that gets her to have a relationship with my client, so that then she wants to invite him in to answer the financial questions on Facebook, right? Now all of a sudden I'm in front of a qualified audience. So my thought was, if I get these younger Instagram influencers that are all focused on this audience, I can leverage the spotlight and the success with them in this older clientele on Facebook. So this just gives you an example. Like, there is a level of growth hacking if you're thinking about trying to break into a new niche. That's really important. If you're just thinking, I'm going to buy a list and I'm going to try to do outreach to these people, or I'm just going to connect with them on LinkedIn, or I'm just going to post great content, it's not going to happen. Or it could happen, but you're going to have to post every day on LinkedIn for the next 1.5 to 2 years. But even then, if you're not commenting on other people's posts, you're just going to run into a real standstill, and you're going to get frustrated because you're going to invest a lot of time and energy. So these are just some of ideas on how you can, I've said growth hack a couple of times, but you just got to get in with somebody else who already has that audience. Does that make sense?
Somebody bigger. Yeah. 100%.
Somebody bigger.
Yes. It's like almost like this is COI marketing, but it's outside of the traditional COIs, which is, estate attorneys and CPAs. That's what everybody knows is COI marketing. So it's like COI marketing / influencer marketing. We're trying to hack a way to bigger brand awareness quicker with the dentist field. So dentistry in general. So I like that. I think those are really good.
And it just comes back to relationships, right? Like, can you build can you build relationships with new types of COIs, not just the financial related COIs? Can you figure out a clever way to get in front of them?
And when you go to that moderator, what do you say to the moderator? You got to give the moderator something that he finds valuable. Like, you can't just say, hey, moderator, can I come in there so I can, put up my ad in your big Facebook group that you've spent years developing? That's probably not going to work. You have to figure out like how you can add value for free. Is it like a free course on wealth management is it like, common pitfalls that dentists face with wealth management that you can send, top 10 and what you do about each one of them. And it becomes this comprehensive guide and it's 10 pages long. And, you give it to her just straight up. You give it to her with no strings attached. Like, hey, hopefully this is helpful for your audience. Or, some kind of pre-recorded video where you're talking through those same things. Same thing. You give it to her and you don't ask for, her to promote you in any way. It's just, hey, hopefully this is helpful. If not, then like I'd love to do something that, keys in on more of the challenges that your audience has. I'm happy to do that. Something like that. You got to give them some value on the front end. Otherwise, you'll hear crickets, and then you'll still be kind of pedaling your wheels a little bit with not a lot to show for it. So, yeah, I love those ideas. I think those are great.
Yeah, you just think of it as like a self-serving thing. Like what, these individuals that you're trying to get to, you want to figure out what is the ask that you can give them, or what can you give them to serve their needs, like what they actually care about. And a lot of times, if you're a big influencer, you want to be selling something, right? So you got to figure out how you can put them in a position to better sell or promote their product. And that in turn is going to get you where you want to go.
Right. Love it. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. You're welcome, Lance Bass. I think the path to 150 million is a little bit more clear now. We've still got to document it, test some things, and then come back to it. We'll do that in 90-day increments. And hopefully everyone else enjoyed listening to this. So thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.